Hey everyone, so today we are going to go over the basics in eighth note quintuplets. We're going to go through a whole bunch of exercises to help you build up the feel of these, and we're also going to discuss how these are different from your typical quintuplets. So as discussed in an earlier video, your typical quintuplet is a pattern of 5 strokes played over a single quarter note. That makes it a little bit faster than 16th notes and a little bit slower than 16th note triplets. If you're interested in knowing more about standard quintuplets, by the way, I'll have a link to that in the description below. Okay, so what's the difference between the eighth note quintuplets that we're looking at today and your standard or typical quintuplets? Well, to understand that, let's take a look at this exercise below. So if we look at that first measure, we've got triplets and quintuplets, right? Well, you should note that these are really called eighth note triplets and 16th note quintuplets. And that's because, to oversimplify it, the eighth note is slower than your standard 16ths, and the quintuplet is faster than your standard 16th. If someone were to say to you, hey, I want you to play a triplet or I want you to play a quintuplet, this is typically what they would mean. If they don't indicate the note value, usually people mean the one that's associated to how long a single quarter note is, right? So 3 strokes per quarter note for a triplet and 5 strokes per quarter note for a quintuplet. Okay, so what's going on with this second measure? Well, I've effectively slowed things down, and now instead of it taking 1 quarter note to resolve, it takes 2 quarter notes to resolve. And because we're doubling that note length, we effectively have to double the note length associated with the name of it. So our eighth note triplet has become quarter note triplets. Our 16th note quintuplet has become eighth note quintuplets. So that's what we're looking at today. We're looking at quintuplets where the 5-stroke pattern takes 2 quarter notes to resolve. Pay very close attention to how this eighth note quintuplet is structured. You'll see that none of the strokes land with the second bass drum hit, right? It might be easier to think of it like this, that the third note of the quintuplet is going to land just before the subsequent downbeat. Now, I know that might still be a little confusing, but let's jump into the first set of examples. I think once you start to hear it, it'll make a bit more sense. How we're going to do this is when you're practicing at home, what I want you to do is start off at 50 beats per minute. Over time, as you get better at this, speed it up to 60 and 70, but we want to start at 50. So how we're going to approach playing this is going to be a little different from other exercises you may have done in the past. What you're going to do is you're going to play that first line twice and not resolve. You're not going to play the downbeat of the third time through. You're going to play through twice, and then you're going to rest for 2 beats. We're going to repeat that a few times. So we're going to do 4 times worth of playing. So 2 measures on, 2 beat rest, 2 measures on, 2 beat rest, 2 measures on, 2 beat rest, 2 measures on. So that's going to be 4 times that we play that first line with 2 beat rests in between each time. Before we jump into the demonstration, a couple other little tips. Since we are playing so slow on these, I would recommend, at least initially, going with a constant motion feel. So instead of just being like 1, 2, 3, that sort of thing, try to just have a constant motion in your stroke. I think it'll help you feel the timing in between the notes a little bit more. For your kick, I would recommend moving your foot a lot further up the baseboard and make sure it doesn't drift back down as you're playing. I think that'll help you with the slower strokes on your kick as well. Okay, so onto the second set of exercises. Now, this is going to be more typical of what you would normally do. We're going to take one line at a time, and I want you to be able to play through it 4 times through. And you can jump around as you need to, right? Because there's a few different lines in here. So work up each one independently until you get it pretty proficiently so that you can just jump in and play any one of them 4 times through. Once you've done that, then we're going to do a little bit of a marathon. What you're going to do is you're going to just start at the top and play through that first line 4 times and then go immediately into the next one without resting and play that 4 times. And we're going to get through the whole set of exercises this way. This little marathon per se should take about 20 measures to get through the whole thing. And again, you want to start off at 50 beats per minute when you're working on these. Let me demonstrate this to you. Okay, so on to exercise 3. And as you can see, the accents are moving around a little bit here. In reality, what we're doing is a stroke pattern of 4 over our subdivision of 5. You'll really need to pay attention to where the downbeat is landing because it's not going to be with the accents every time now. Also note that a single exercise is a full line. In other words, before we were working usually with 1 measure being 1 exercise, but now it's 2 measures to do 1 exercise. Work up each individual line one at a time until you're proficient with it. Then you can move on to the marathon of playing the whole thing with 4 times through each line. That should be 32 measures to get through the whole thing. Let me show you that right now. For set number 4, you'll see that we've changed things up again with the accents. The first 2 lines, we're doing patterns of 3 over 5. And for the third and fourth line, we're doing patterns of 6 over our 5. This does not evenly resolve over our 2-measure exercise. So you'll see there's also a little bit of a tail at the end. Be extra careful to not rush that little part at the end where we have that extra accent. Let me show you this to you at 50 beats per minute. Okay, so for set 5, what we're going to do is we're going to start to jump back and revise some of our earlier exercises. We're actually going to take what was set 2, we're going to throw away the accents, and where the accents were, we're going to play them on the toms. I'm going to do my right hand on tom 3, my left on tom 1, but you can do whatever toms you feel like. I'm going to actually speed things up a little bit, so I'm going to play these for you at 70 beats per minute instead. For set 6, we've jumped back to what was set 3. So again, we're playing 4 strokes over our 5-stroke subdivision, but we've replaced the accents with toms. Here's what it's going to sound like at 70 beats per minute. Okay, we've made it to the last set of exercises. And again, we are going back to an earlier one. We're swapping out the toms. This is where we're doing the sets of 3 for 2 lines and then a set of 6 for the next 2 lines. Now, be really careful, again, when you're on the tail to not rush. And also be careful when you're switching lines, because there's one place where you're going to have to do 2 right strokes in a row, and another place where you're going to have to do 2 left strokes in a row. Okay guys, congratulations on making it through. You know, this is a very weird feel that you need to kind of build up. So it will take probably some time to really get there, especially to be able to get into it from a resting position. Quintuplets normally have a weird feel because it's 5 notes split up over a quarter, but here, especially if you're gonna down the road want to be able to play a normal 8th note or 16th note against it. It is very much of an odd thing to do 8th note quintuplets against that. So really work on these things before you try to venture out and explore how you can use this in the real world. I do have other videos like this coming out all the time, other lesson videos, tips on recording, gear review, all that good stuff. So if you don't want to miss out, then don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, peace.